Okay, this is the January 21st, 2026 regular meeting of the Darien Connecticut Parks and Recreation Commission, calling the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes from December 16th. Anybody have any changes, additions? Thought they look good? Okay. Motion to approve. Jim, Ed second, all in favor? Great. You're a visitor, so you don't vote. Sorry. Actually, you're from the RTM committee, if you wanna give us your names, because it'll be in the minutes.
Sure, Anna Maria Lohmann, RTM Distrital.
We've got the whole list. Hi, Janet. Okay, do we have any public comment? I think we're in the public here tonight. Moving on. We voted on the minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We did, okay.
Yeah.
I got distracted. There were no no's, right?
Right.
Okay. I guess
We're good.
we're good, I just wanna be sure we're good. Okay. Usually, at the beginning of the year, we discuss and create any, what we started calling advisory groups that we may need to support the commission's activities during the year. Of course, in the past, we've had groups to, plan the playgrounds, work with Weston and Sampson on the different beach projects, whatever. We had a group that looked at football for a while. Last year, the only one we thought we needed was the one that was supporting our work around, invasives, planting, etc. But what I want to chat about, Louise, is I don't really feel, it didn't seem like the group really met, and given we don't have tons of capital projects in the planning, whether we could handle it just as a commission and not have a separate group.
I think that's probably true. I think the important thing is what we did in the past was really focus on an area that had really been pretty much ignored. And with Jennifer's help and her staff and so on, we've really done a very good job in terms of managing the invasives. And I know I went around looking for bittersweet, and it was really gone except for one little plant over at Cherry Lawn, but had been totally eradicated from Baker Park and down at the beach and so on. So I think that's kind of.
So did you pluck that one plant just to kind of finish it off?
It was just that one.
Is it gone now?
I know where it is. Let me put it this way.
We'll be back.
We'll give you a flashlight right after this meeting.
Well, so there's much more of a focus on the need to watch what's going on with our trees and, keep them trimmed, and I think, and your staff really knows what to do, so.
Sandy's very aware of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. The Cherry Lawn Gardens are now starting their 51st year. Dorothy has stepped away. She's still got a garden, but she's not heading the group. A new gal, Beth Agarabi Lane, is going to be chairing it. The contracts have not gone out yet, so I really don't.
I think they were being stuffed in envelopes today.
Okay. So probably within the next month, we'll know exactly how many gardeners we actually have and, how deep we've gone into the waiting list. And that's.
So do you think we could comfortably, because we met with, three of us,
Yeah.
but Sandy met at some point a few months ago. And he really seemed to have a handle on
He
it,
does,
an idea of
yeah.
where he wanted to spend the money this year and what needed to be removed and where we would put plants. And to the extent you and he want help, I think maybe at this point the commission could
I would think
deal
so.
with
I
it, as opposed to creating a separate group and warning meetings and
Correct.
all of that stuff. And then if you could continue to be a liaison to
Cherry Lawn.
Cherry Lawn Gardens, and then make sure, because I believe in the rules it says we need to be getting a report at least once a year. So maybe we do that either February or March, what do you
As soon
think?
as we have a handle on how many gardeners we
Okay.
have. So.
But also wrap up from last year, like
Correct.
how many people left, did you have to get rid of anybody because they didn't need the weeds, just kind of all of that stuff.
No, we had a very happy season.
Had a happy season, happy and productive. I hope.
Productive, indeed.
Okay. Okay, so we'll vote on that next month.
Okay.
And then is there anything else that everybody or anybody who's thinking that we might need focus on beyond what we can handle as a group. Okay. If things come up during the year, we can always create that and revisit that. Alrighty, next is, and you see the agenda really is very short tonight, but our December meeting was virtual and we really just focused on the budget, and getting that discussed, and then so I'm talking to Jen, I just feel like that we all haven't had a group update probably since November, and that was kind of a budget focused meeting, so really, just so Jen can update everybody on, what's been happening, what's going on, the new hire, status of projects, because as you are out in the community, of course, you need to be able to answer questions you get from your friends and neighbors, so I thought it was worth just getting together for a few minutes to kick off the new year. All right, Jen, I will turn it over to you.
So we've got a lot going on. I'll start with Pear Tree Park Improvements Project. It's exciting, hopefully people have been by, you can see there's lots of activity going on. The dredging right now is about 90% complete. So we are on time to complete it within the permit window. Hopefully the dredging portion will be done hopefully by the end of this week. We only have until the end of the month, but they were figuring probably by the end of this week. That portion should be done. Again, they're working on, probably can't tell from the road, but the concrete formation for all the sidewalks should be done, and I believe they're planning to have everything poured by the end of this week. Again, they're still on, they've got stuff going for the boat ramp. That is partially done. They're working on drainage. They're working on basically all the aspects of the project. It's all kind of happening at the same time. They are slightly ahead of schedule, we believe. But, don't want to jinx anything because it's all going to be weather dependent. So definitely should be no problem getting done by the beginning. They're shooting for mid-April, but so that we have that May 1 deadline so that we're open and up and ready for the summer. We are continuing to stress with them about ADA compliance. We had a meeting the other day. I keep reminding them that we just had an audit and we need to make sure that as we're building everything that it's within the compliance limits. So we did stress that again. Weston and Sampson stressed that again with yield. So they're on top of it and making sure that we're in like the 2% tolerances and things like that for the different slopes. So
Well, what I could see today when I went by this afternoon, the concrete was poured, and there is the slope at the end of each. From what I can see from the fence, the slope has been put in, so to make it ADA compliant on the
there
sidewalks anyway.
on the sidewalks where there are handicap spots, it slopes down so that you have the access point, and then it, so it ramps up on either side. So are the access points. So there's one for the South Beach. There's one kind of down by where the picnic area is, and then one closer to the building. And then on the west side, there's also right near the building. There's some parking spaces there, and then there are a few also down by closer to the boat club, which are more meant for that. But so it's the same thing. So you'll see it'll dip down for that access point.
There's also just like
But-
pitch of that.
But yeah, so the
pitch
other
this
piece though
way,
is you
pitch
can't
this
have
way.
like cross slopes. It can't be more than like 2%. So that's the kind of stuff that they really have to make sure all the tolerances are, so.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be nice that you'll be able to walk from the picnic area all the way down to the bathrooms now, and then walk around,
Yep,
Down
you
to
can
the
walk
boat
all the
club.
way, right,
have a path, rather than have to walk in the parking lot.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll be,
Did you, by chance, the consultant's report for Pear Tree, did you share that with Weston and Sampson and Yield? I mean, I know a lot of stuff's being dug up, but it seemed to me it wouldn't hurt for
think
them to have and know what was going on in the park and the areas of
I
concern.
don't know, I'd have to go back and look, I can't remember if I did or didn't. The only thing is most everything is all being done from scratch.
Understood,
The
but-
things that were, you know, I reiterated to them, most of it was about the slopes in the parking lot, the
Right.
slopes of the sidewalks, because they're not touching the building, so it has nothing to do with that. But I can
But
definitely
then they would
share
see,
it.
like, these
Yeah.
are the sort of things that when consultants come in and test against compliance and whether things were built right, it really, when you go through that report, it kind of puts it right.
It was interesting too, because I did speak with Yield
Mhm.
about it, that we had just gotten this, and he was very much aware of, I guess they've been brought in other places to do the correction
Okay.
for, you know, other projects where they've been off, so he definitely understood what I was,
Heightened
Talking about-
sensitivity.
yeah,
Okay.
so
It
he's-
just might be worth.
but
it.
I will,
Yeah.
I can share that with them.
And with the boat ramp there, I know it's not done yet, but anything come up, I didn't hear anything at the building committee meeting, but, because there was sort of urban folklore out there that the reason it wasn't done correctly was that there was like ledge and they couldn't go, but then the last coastal committee meeting, somebody else said, no, that wasn't true, it's just, it saved $100,000 to make it the pitch raw, and then the Board of Finance decided to save the money. So, I mean, who knows what's true, but there.
I'd have to double check, but I know there were some large rocks that were found. I don't know if it was right there, I think it was, so those have kind of been pulled out, so that may be what it was, but I can double check on that.
Any question?
Um,
I can.
no. Okay,
So,
anything else on Fair Trade?
So we have, we have made two payments each to both Weston and Sampson and Yield so far, based on the, what's been done. So, just so you know, Yield has, to date, $230,012.50. Weston and Sampson so far has gotten $50, oh my God, $50,125. So there'll be another payment, so basically that goes to the building committee. It's reviewed first by Weston and Sampson, then it goes to the building committee, and then once that's done, it gets processed. So that's gone through, so we will have another one at the next building committee. I know I've seen the pencil form for the next pay application. One thing I would want to also mention was there has been a request, and probably heard about it, you know, for sand to be either replaced or added to the beaches. So we did check. Unfortunately, the permits that we have now for this job do not include that in it. So it is something that we would need permits for. So I'll be having to, we don't want to jeopardize this project in any way, shape, or form, but that's something we'll be looking into to do as kind of a separate standalone project. We'd have to figure out quantities and go to deep. And they said also possibly Army Corps. So we just need to make sure we're.
Replaced? Does that entail removing the sand?
So that's been some of the talk, was removing some that maybe, what's been termed to me as dirty. People said, well, the sand is dirty, you know, because as it's gotten like pushed into the parking lots and then gets scooped up and put back in. So to maybe take some amount off, so, and then put down some new sand. Or do we just put on top? So those are the couple things we'd have to look at. There will be an addition of sand that goes from, you know, the beaches are being extended, maybe a little bit deeper. So the permit includes that, but it didn't include anything beyond that. So that's why we'll have to go for separate.
I'm just curious, like, if we were to go down this path of permit more sand, is this $50,000, hundreds of thousands of dollars? Like, what's?
I don't know, that's why
Sand's expensive.
we have to find
Yeah.
out, it all depends on what the quantity is, right? So that's what we'd have to determine, so, but we're trying to just get this done so that we can
Yeah,
figure that out to see if
presumably-
is it even,
Go through a season and assess, like, whether, is it maybe got cleaned by the rain?
so, well, it won't get cleaned by the rain, but,
If the sand wouldn't get cleaned by the
Even
rain?
get guidance.
well,
Not if it's got picked up like oils and
Oils,
stuff
stuff like
from.
that,
Well,
that's-
I don't know, well, I guess we'd go and see it.
well, I mean,
I
it's
mean,
what's
we-
there, it's the same that's been there all along,
So has it
over
been
years.
dirty?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's,
Well, I mean, like, if it
that's
was,
what
if
people
we,
are,
It's like
Okay.
a rocky sand, it's not a smooth
I
sand.
think it's been getting dirtier and dirtier because as we've had storms and the sand's getting pushed up on the parking lot and then scooped back and it's just
Right.
over time.
I would just hate to
it's
spend
getting-
money on something and then have it get
Dirty.
dirty again.
So,
Well, it will to some extent, but hopefully, the whole point of this project is that we have less flooding, less erosion, less sand getting put into the parking lot, so that should happen certainly less frequently, but.
So I assume there's a normal cycle of, life cycle of sand, right? So like, have we ever done standalone sand replacement projects as, like, is that in the scope of this commission? I would think it is, like,
There's been sand replenishment
Yeah.
in the past, but it hasn't been done for years.
is that right?
Yeah. So, the last time sand was done any place, because again, when this all came up, it was, start looking. We think it's been possibly almost 20 years since sand was done, and over at Weed was the last time, and that happened because it was after Sandy, and because the house was there, and there had been some contamination from oil tanks or something like that from the house. So that's why some sand got done there. So they have made this, and I will say, just based on my experience in the past, people remember, oh, when I grew up, we used to always do this and we just moved the sand, the laws have changed. So you're not allowed to do that quite the same way. So that's something, and Weston and Sampson said they could talk to me
Guide
about
us on
trying to
options.
decide some options and kind of figure out quantities, and then I can go from there and see what we would need to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are with that.
So we don't have like any kind of recent frame of reference of what sand costs. So,
I mean,
sand.
we could see, from the bid, we would see kind
Yeah,
of, we could
okay.
see kind of a per cubic yard or however it was, the quantity was bid out, but.
But your feeling is we wouldn't just get X amount of fresh sand and just plop it on top?
You
you could.
Is
could,
it only
and-
like
and you do
along the
that.
you
perimeter,
could, but at some
close to
point-
the parking lot, or are we talking about the whole beach?
No, I'm sure it's been mixed in, because we
Yeah.
groom the beaches, so it gets, moved
Raked
around
in.
and raked around, and so it gets mixed in.
It's mixed up.
So
Yeah.
we'll have to see what the options are. But I just want to make it clear because I know it came up and could it be put into this project? So we just wanted to share that it's something that we're gonna have to look at separately, not as part of this.
And then the other thing's the timeline. We're already working on a tight deadline, right? Getting this thing done by May 1st, right?
Oh yeah, there's no way you'd get I mean, if we have to go to deep and get permits and things like that, like it's not
Right.
happening quickly. That's why we said let's not jeopardize this project in any way or get anything confused or whatever, and we'll just do that separately.
Right.
So, the next thing is the pond dredging at Tilly Pond and the ponds at Tilly and Cherry Lawn Park. So we did receive 2 proposals, and it was done as an RFP, request for proposal. It was awarded to New England Aquatic Services. And we are currently in the process of getting those permits. We're working with EPC right now. So we're moving along, and hopefully we get those by March-ish, and then the plan is to kind of get in and start as soon as we can. Both came in within the budget, so that was good. For Cherry Lawn, we had a budget of $165,000, it came in at $155,670. And Tilly, the budget was $381,000 and it came in at $362,195. So hopefully we should be pretty good, and that will help the quality of the water and the life of the ponds.
Quick question, why is Tilly so much more than Cherry Lawn?
It's significantly more
Yeah.
larger ponds and more sediment that needs to come out. It's about double
Okay,
what needs to come out.
okay, I guess Cherry Lawn is deceiving because it kind of goes back in there. It's
Yeah,
a
it's-
pond, but then you have the
it's-
bridge, you have all the wetlands back there and the waterfall and everything.
Yeah, no, it's just that small
Okay.
pond
Mhm.
by we have the aerator and the dock and stuff, so
Mhm.
it's just that, and to like that little treasure island
Yeah,
spot.
yeah,
So it's really just that
Okay.
area. Moving on, programs, as you see, our fall and winter registration is down a little bit. Again, we're seeing a lot more opportunities for different winter recreation around, between like indoor pickleball, so, you know, out in other places. And things are being handled by other organizations as well. I think the Y is doing some basketball and things like that, that kind of take away from some of what we're doing. What we are hoping for is, once I get, and I'll get into this shortly, but we'll get our fully staffed up, that we'll also be able to be bringing in some additional programs and expand that. And we now have some additional space in the Mather Center and everything, because the Arts Center has gotten rid of some of their space that they're renting from the town, so it opens up some more space for us to be able to utilize, so we're looking forward to that.
There's some more private businesses too.
Yeah, I mean,
that are opening up.
there's a lot of,
after kids, you know, whether it's crafts or STEM learning or all different things.
there's all sorts of different
Yeah.
opportunities, so, you know, and as I've said to staff, I don't care if we try it and it doesn't work, we try it, you know, I mean, some things are gonna work and some things aren't gonna work, but, so we'll be trying a whole bunch of new stuff, with people bringing new ideas, which is great.
Is there a difference, is it more adult programs off versus children, or?
It's both. A big thing, I think I put it in here, was I think a quarter of what we saw was, 1/4 of the decrease in the fall was from drop in paddle tennis lesson participation, so most of that is adults. So I think it's across the board. People are finding stuff in different areas.
Are we finding that there's less interest in paddle? And I only ask because I recall one of the meetings, we said even registrations were down for paddle.
Yes, so paddle is dropping, it's dropping area-wide, like everywhere. From the height, it was super busy and popular with COVID. So from the 2021, 22 seasons, like that was at the peak, and it was crazy, and it was booked all the time. So to compare it to that time sort of is an anomaly, right? And so we're still, I think, above where we were pre-COVID times, but you are starting to see that come down, because that was the only thing that people could do, and they were booked during the day because people were home, and people would just go out and play, and that was the only stuff you could do, was the outdoor stuff. So it's really seeing a dramatic drop from that. That's why you keep seeing, like, even for our budget revenue numbers and things, it's coming down, because, and it's not just us, we're seeing
Yeah.
that.
And I saw something recently, I don't know if it was on Patch or one of these things there, Oxbridge is trying to get approval for, there's another sport called Padel.
Yeah,
I guess they want to convert their paddle courts over to Padel courts. So they must be seeing a lack of activity there as well, if they're freeing up some time to create another sport. I don't know, is that something we should think about, if that's an up-and-coming sport? I don't know.
They came to see me about it. It's apparently huge in Europe. Hundreds of thousands of people, crazy. And the only court that's around here is in Greenwich. But these guys are completely bought in. This gentleman had his kids involved, and they were obsessed. And they wanted to put something in over at Oxbridge. It's actually buildings. If you go over there, there's the Highland Farms here, the Oxbridge Hunt Club is here, there's this land that's right in the middle, and they actually want to build an indoor padel court, how do you pronounce that? And I'm not sure that's going to get approved, but it was an interesting concept.
So it's an indoor court they would be
Yeah.
building, not using the existing paddle courts. Gotcha.
No, because you play off all the
It's walls and
walls,
it
but
needs-
they're solid, not like paddle tennis,
Right.
where they're,
More like squash.
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
very enthusiastic.
yeah, there's one at Pickleball America.
Yeah.
It's actually out in the
Mall.
mall.
It's like in the mall.
Yeah, it's like in the mall, but I think what I heard is, instead of adding more pickleball, because remember they're supposed to do 2 levels up there, that maybe will be padel instead. If you've seen it, it's very rigorous game.
Yeah, the field club in Greenwich is building a whole padel,
Right.
like, built almost like, you know,
Yeah.
like as big as their paddle area.
the whole facility.
Yeah.
These
Or it's
guys,
built, like, I guess, yeah.
these guys were convinced it was gonna take over all racket sports, and they were, and I don't say that facetiously, they were completely
Mhm.
convinced of that.
I guess only time will tell, right?
Maybe we'll need a Padel committee at some point.
Moving along, we collected approximately 200 letters to Santa this year, so that was a very successful and large program. One of the upcoming things that we have now is our Sweetheart Dance, which was previously known as the Daddy-Daughter Dance or the Daughter Duo Dance, and we decided we're changing the name again, to the Sweetheart Dance, and that is open for registration now. We're gonna send out another blast. We have 175 out of the 250 spaces are already registered. That's gonna be on February 6th here in the Town Hall Gym from 6:30 to 8. So that's moving along, registration. I would wanna say too, super thanks to Jim Coughlin, who has been working tirelessly with Cassie gone. He has been managing and promoting all of the winter programs. He's been putting together all of the spring and summer programs to get all that stuff ready for the brochure. So it's really, all that has kind of been on him, and he's really been doing a good job with that. Which leads me into our spring and summer program registration is going to be held on Wednesday, February 25th. The information, for a little bit, I had put in my report by January 21st. He's just finalizing it right now, so it should be by the end of this week. Everything will be online. We're in the process of getting everything put up to get to the printer. Brochures will go out to all Darien residents the week of February 16th. So if people want to go on like next week or whatever and start looking at online, they'll be able to find all that information. Along with that, we just determined the camp registration date. That is going to be February 11th, which is also a Wednesday, and we're doing all the camps that same day. In the past, the older camp was done on a different date. We're doing all of them on the same date, but we're gonna be doing kind of a staggered registration so that hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for parents that have kids in different camps to be able to get in and actually get registered and not just get bumped. Because we know it's a cutthroat kind of thing. It's like buying Taylor Swift tickets, so.
Maybe not after today.
Oh, I don't know what happened today.
Oh, you'll see it.
Oh, boy,
And then
okay.
It's like, I don't know,
Oh,
it's like I
boy.
can't not see it. It's like all this stuff that's going on.
We won't digress on that.
Yeah,
So I'll tell us
yeah.
after.
Sorry.
So we also have, for budget, I have my initial meeting with the town administrator and finance director, so that's moving through. It will be before the Board of Selectmen, our budget on February 9th. After that, it goes to the Board of Finance, it will be to them in March, and then the RTM has the full vote will happen May 11th.
Did the town administrator make any changes?
I don't know yet.
Oh.
I haven't gotten anything back yet with any changes. Did not seem to be looking at much when we were speaking. So we'll see what ends up going through, but seemed pretty much on board with what we presented to them, to her, I should say. Most excitingly, Lexi Polasek is now our new senior manager of recreation programs and events. She started with us on January 5th, so we're excited to have her. She comes to us, she was up in Southbury, Parks and Recreation Department. She's, again, her main focus is camps. She's got lots of experience with camps, other programs, events. So she's already looking, we're working, she dove right in. We're trying to revamp some stuff for this year. There'll obviously be more that happens next year once she gets to really see how things work and lay out. But I think she's a really good addition. I'm excited. She's got a good amount of enthusiasm and energy and just, again, new ways to look at things and new things that she'll bring. And I think she'll bring some other programming ideas and things like that. So we talked a little bit, but right now we're like, just focus on camping. Get everything set so we can start getting the word out on that. Secondly, we have our manager of recreation programs and events. That position we're currently in the hiring process for that. We're hoping to have the person on by mid-February. That person will be handling, that's the position that Cassie was in. So that's most of the events, different programs, and pickleball is kind of the focus of that position. So unfortunately at the moment I can't say anything more than that, but hope to be able to make some other announcements shortly on that. But again, I think we're excited. I'm excited. I think it'll be nice to have just kind of a new team, a lot of new eyes, new energy, and I think both will have good stuff to be able to bring to the department. So looking forward to that. In terms of our facilities and maintenance, obviously we've been dealing with a bunch of snow events. We've got another one coming up this weekend, so be prepared. We have we did at one point, as it got cold enough, we're checking the ice at Tilly and Cherry Lawn Ponds. Unfortunately, it was not thick enough for us to technically open.
You had some questions about that?
Yeah, so I've had a few questions about folks just trying to clarify, okay, so what are the rules and how do you know? When is it tested, and is there some kind of obvious posting that says close, up, open, and now
Right.
you can skate on that? And the folks would just like clarity on that. So if there's something you could say, put in the town newsletter, or just
Okay.
improve signage or something like that, just so people can
Okay.
understand that. I've had a few people call and just ask.
Yeah, we can try to put something together for the newsletter for that. There are signs that are posted at Cherry Lawn and at Tilly, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it either says like it is not, ice checked, not safe, and then I think otherwise if it is, then you switch it over, and I think it says like, something about your own risk or something like that, but maybe we can put something out to say where the signs are located so they know to go check it and where they are and what they say, and we can
And what about
do that.
Rings End?
That is
Not town.
not
That's not
town
town.
pond. We don't do anything with that. It's strictly Cherry Lawn and Tilly.
But people do skate there.
It's not Parks and Rec though. It's a town.
But it should be covered with the signage piece.
But it's not,
It's all
then we're taking liability
private
for
property?
that, which is not.
I don't have an answer to that. I'm not sure about that pond. I'll find out.
Because I was just going from what I've been told, we did that years ago, and at some point, I'm not sure why or when, but that was then stopped.
I'd stay away from that.
What's the
Too
minimum
much liability.
thickness?
It depends, because it depends what type of, it gets very complicated. But
But
it's
it's just a set.
No, it's usually at least around 6 inches, because again, we can't say anything for, can one person, two people be out there? Yeah, but for us, we have to be able to say it's significant. However, if it's like a honeycombed ice, which is white, then it's not as strong, so you need more. So it gets, and honestly, this year, it's gonna, well, not this year, but right now, it's gonna drop temperature-wise. But now if we have snow on it, that then works as like an insulator, so it doesn't actually freeze as well. So there's so many variables with it.
Where
But
the
it's
temperature
typical.
drops to 15 on Saturday, and it's below 26 degrees for the next 10
Yep.
days.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
So
crazy cold.
once the temperature does get to a certain, drop down, we'll start testing again.
This is all gonna freeze pretty solid.
Right.
I mean, people skate on Holly Pond too.
They'll be able to at least.
Yeah, but I don't know if the town monitors that one either.
We don't.
Well, so none of it's town-owned. There's a section that's actually owned by private property owners, and then there's a big section there that's just American Waterways. It's not owned by the town.
And there was an incident on Monday where a girl fell in the pond over near Tokenie. She's fine.
What
Fell into
pond?
the pond, was on the ice, the ice
Mhm.
cracked and they fell into the water, is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. So, it was kind of warm in school, but she's fine, yeah.
It was a private pond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By Tokenic School. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll try to put something
Yeah, I think that
together
would be good, yeah.
for the newsletter and to get that word out. We're doing all our winter maintenance on all of our equipment, lifeguard chairs, picnic tables being resealed, repainted. Working on the swim buoys, the barrier floats, some of them we had to replace because they were apparently clearly hit by a boat or multiple boats. But getting those ready for the season. The paddle hut is currently the interior is being repainted. And last but not least, I'll say, Kyle Iman in our Parks Department has been promoted to the labor driver position, so that's filling the vacancy that was left from Eddie Acevedo's retirement. So now we'll be filling his spot as he moves up. So, happy for him to be able to get promoted. That's what I've got, unless there are questions.
One thing Chris and I communicated, because you hadn't heard anything from the Little League,
No.
on whether they want to do the banners again. I don't know if you're able to connect with them, because they just.
I reached out to John, we tried to get a call today, we're gonna
Okay.
call for tomorrow, so.
Okay,
He signified they certainly want to do it again, just gonna work on the details.
that would be my guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we were gonna revenue share, did we actually get revenue from them? That was,
I don't,
Sort
did
of-
we ever get
that
it
was
finalized?
I think we had an agreement, but I don't believe that we ever collected,
Okay,
so.
so no.
It's
Okay.
rev share, so I'll get
Yeah.
what was the?
Terry and a couple other guys, maybe some bats, we'll figure it out.
Oh, do you remember what the agreement was? Was it percent? I just,
Yeah, it was.
It was a percentage, but I don't
Okay.
recall the number.
okay.
Are they taking them down in the off season and putting them back up again, or do they stay up all year?
I think they were up there.
I think they're.
I
Yeah.
thought they were supposed to come
I think they were
down.
supposed
I
to.
think they were,
I
but-
think they're down now,
Are they down now? Okay.
yeah. Last time I drove through there, I don't recall seeing them.
Okay.
I'll email you.
Okay, thanks.
And you share after.
Yeah. Because then we should probably, I mean, assume they want to start selling. We talked about it last year at this meeting.
Yep.
Which is what reminded me, because I always kind of go back.
Yep.
You know, what do we usually talk about in January? And that was on there. And then we voted on it in February, because they wanted to get going with their sales to have them ready for May, so.
I wouldn't expect they're selling 100% of the inventory every year, though. Like, that vinyl's expensive, like, they're gonna wanna reuse those.
But wouldn't they be looking for the
They would look to get the
XYZ
money.
store to get
to
the money
sponsor
for
it, yeah.
another year?
They would, but my
Yeah.
point is if business XYZ sponsored last year, it's in everybody's best interest for them to sponsor again and use
Yeah.
that same vinyl. Cause like,
Yeah.
like, it's a significant, like, you,
Right.
that vinyl's a significant cost.
Right.
We've, so I would bet all they have to do is, the two people that said, you know what, I'm not gonna do it next year, they only have to, they don't have to sell the whole place, they gotta sell
Right.
two, or whatever. So,
Okay. So we have to go through the, now we did approve it for 1 year last year, so I guess part of the discussion could be, you know, and I think we want to try 1 year, kind of see how they look, see.
Yeah.
We got negative just was there negative feedback, which I'm not aware that there was any, whatever, so, you know, whether you just
No.
say, okay, maybe you do it for more than 1 year, maybe, but,
Yeah, I think the only thing that came in front of us last year was the list of advertisers, and I think we approved that. And I think that was March after we had already voted in February, so
right,
that was another thing.
yeah.
I mean, was everybody okay with that? I, for one, was a little bit concerned about how it was gonna look, and I thought it looked fine.
I thought it was
Yeah.
fine too, because they were all one,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'll get as well, they had a list of their own rules for advertising, I'll see if I can get a copy of that for ours, but we approved that as well too,
Yeah.
everything was
Yeah.
clear, so I think they're good to go.
I thought it was well done, they also kept the bunting up there as well, so it looked nice.
yeah. It just may be one of those things that we got 1 year under our belt, it seemed to be fine, and it might not have to be necessarily like an every year thing, maybe it's
Yeah.
an every. Something. Kind of like we did with the, the We Beach Dog program, we did for a few years, 1 year at a time, see how, and then finally we're like, okay, let's just do it.
While we're on the subject of Lily Field, the parking lot, I recall seeing something about patching it. It's in pretty bad shape, right? We're gonna patch it or something, we're responsible for that?
Yes, so the issue is there are so many parts of McWan that need to be in the parking lot, that need to be addressed for the ADA compliance issues. So with the cost that we got to repave the parking lot, it's astronomical. And once you do one piece, it ties into the other piece, because that ties into the sidewalks and the walkways and all the other stuff. So as we talked about with the budget, we would be looking to do one kind of overall, 1 year the plan to do all the bid documents and design of the parking lot, everything to take care of all those ADA issues in one thing, and then bid it out and do the construction the following year. So in order to get us through, we looked at, it's probably about 1/5 of the parking lot when we took the really bad areas, and we would not like just go and fill in patches, but actually cut out sections and do patches that way to get us through until we do the whole lot. Because otherwise, if we were to just go in and pave it, we're not fixing the problem.
Right.
And we need to address the ADA issues, so
Makes
the whole
sense.
thing, the whole thing may need to be redesigned as to how the parking is.
Probably gonna want
Because
sidewalks around
it's
the
all
whole
on this
outside.
hill.
Big slope.
It's all on the slope, and I'm like, well, if it has to be flat, how do you even make them, and they're supposed to be close to the facility, and you have them walking across the traffic, so, or,
Is there patching urgency that says that needs to be done now while we wait for this broader plan to get it all AD sort of repaved and ADA compliant? Does that patching need to be done now, or can you just wait and say, let's pull together the entire plan, it may take a couple of years to...
no, I think, we need to do some patching.
There's
too.
some places that
Yeah.
have to,
That's why we put in just the patching piece into the budget.
Okay.
So you'll see that in there when it comes to you.
yeah, you was tripping hazards and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
it's, so we took like kind of, we looked at basically the largest sections, and if we can just cut those pieces out, and that'll hopefully get us some time to do the whole plan.
Are all of the individual park reports from the ADA consultants online? Because I couldn't find all of them. I know at the selectmen's meeting, Jen said, oh, there's like an ADA section on the town website, but I
That's a
have to
good
tell
question.
you,
They
I
quote-
couldn't find it, and I know my way around the town site pretty well.
I'd like to say that I have a love-hate relationship with the town website, it's just a hate relationship.
Okay.
And so we're gonna redo that whole thing, it just does not work. That said, I recall that they posted segments of that report on there, but that's a good point, I'm not sure that she.
Like I found
Now, we'll
Pear
discuss it all,
Tree.
it probably should all be up there, and I'll check that.
Just by like putting pear tree in the search bar, I found pear tree, but then I couldn't find weed, for instance, so I kind of found some of the part. But I thought she had said there was like one in the main webpage, you just say AD information and click on it, I could not find that.
Well, but I recall that they posted just part of the report, because we sequenced it based on how we were discussing it,
Okay.
and maybe it was just an oversight that they didn't put the
Okay.
entire thing up there,
Okay.
but it should be up there. I'll check.
So it would be good, as you guys, at your leisure, you may not wanna plod through all of them, but even if you go through a couple of them, it kind of gives you a feel for they're very detailed, but the kind of the level and the types of things that
Yeah, It's
are
a
looked at and
combination
considered.
of things that have deteriorated, like ADA markings for parking and all that, and stuff that was just built poorly and not in a compliant fashion, so we'll get it fixed.
And you've been following up on the Cherry Playground?
Yes, I'm having a call with them next week.
Okay.
Been in touch with them.
Other questions for Jen? Good. A handful of things, John, you can chime in this. We had OPC yesterday, as you know, I'll just touch on things that I feel somehow relate to our work. If you wants a full download, you can watch the TV 79 video, but, John, you mentioned you can chime in that you're gonna be presenting to the RTM Monday, about some work on the charter and the ordinances to look at all the committees and commissions and everything that are out there and rationalize them, make sure that what commissions and committees are supposed to be doing is clear, et cetera. Why don't you?
Yeah, this is, there's two themes to this effort. One is board and commission efficiency. That's actually not the Parks and Rec Commission. It's much more the fact that we've got a lot of boards and commissions for whom the missions and mandates are not clear, or we don't have them written up, and people get on the board and commission, so what are we supposed to do and what are we not supposed to do? There's a lot of overlap, so two examples of that would just be on environmental matters. We've got advisory committee on sustainability, planning and zoning has environmental responsibilities, you guys have environmental responsibilities, we've got coastal waters, we've got environmental protection commission, which by design actually has conservation built into it, but they don't have time for it because most of their work is focused on environmental matters related to building permits. And so we've got a lot of people come to us and say, for conservation and just environmental matters, who do we go to? And we don't have a good answer to that. A lot of other towns have conservation commissions. And so it's an example of just, this is a big jumbled mess. And people who get involved in these committees, I spend a lot of time trying to explain, well, you're supposed to be doing this, but not this, but it's not written down. The whole thing is, I think, degrading our volunteer experience and frustrating people and saying, I just don't want to be part of town government because this is lame. We have a similar problem, I think, with health-related committees. So we have an advisory board of health, we have a mental health task force, we have a thriving youth task force, we have a, not to mention whatever the school system has. And again, it's where do we go to for all this? And we just consolidate this somehow. We've also got a youth commission, which we've not staffed for a long time, that sort of overlap with all that. So, particularly in those two areas, I'm actually going to propose a cleanup for all of that in terms of how I would do it, and then let the RTM and other groups weigh in as to how we might make that better. But again, it's in the spirit of making the volunteer experience better. All the people who volunteer for those committees, they deserve to have clear-cut, focused roles with meaningful, meaty work that they can engage in. And that's kind of what I want to do with all that. The other piece to this is there's cleanups in the functionality of government that I think either people ignore or it's a real pain to deal with. And I've got at least a dozen of those things on stuff that I touch. And I know Wayne Fox has it, Jennifer Charneski has it, and we're going to try to get all that cleaned up. Importantly, what this is not going to do is change the structure of government, significantly shift power among boards and elected and appointed officials, or do anything that's controversial like that. All that's town government's going to be left in place. This is just a cleanup effort to try to focus on making it a better experience for our many volunteers.
Thank you for that clarification. And also that you mentioned the two advisory committees for sidewalks and
Yes, I'm looking for members for that. I've got a newsletter that's coming out on Friday. There will be a blurb in there about encouraging people to volunteer. I've also asked our political committees to help us with Democrats and Republicans because we need to have a balance across that. And of course, unaffiliated folks are invited as well. Those will be great committees. I want the Conservation Committee to help us design a Conservation Commission. And then the Sidewalk Committee is, frankly, a lot of people are motivated to have a more walkable town. There's a lot we can do in that regard, but I want it to be citizen-led in terms of surfacing sidewalk opportunities and for people to say their piece, and then we'll prioritize that list and start to march through it and see if we can improve it. Yesterday I had a coffee with a woman named Kate Havoc here in town organized with the director and assistant director of transportation in Norwalk, and they talked about how they did their safe streets efforts there and had it led to something like 12 miles of sidewalks that these guys have built or will be building. It's quite inspiring, the work that they did. People are very enthusiastic about that. Having sidewalks in front of your house actually raises property values, which they've been able to demonstrate. And it's just a really positive effort that they undertook, and I'd like to take some learnings from that for our own sidewalk effort, recognizing that we may come up with a list of priorities with this committee, but it's going to take a few years to roll it out. Less because of budgeting, but more because most of this work is actually done by contractors who specialize in sidewalks. And there's a limited number of firms that can do that. So even if we wanted to fund it all at once, there's simply not the capacity to build it. So we're gonna get there, but I am enthusiastic about that, and I think it'll definitely improve walkability in town.
And that would be something for us to be thinking about, because one place, you know, and it talks about in our master plan is having walkability to the parks.
Well, and to the extent there are areas of residents that would like to walk to any one of our parks, they'll bring it up, but if this commission actually has specific areas where you'd say, we'd love to get the sidewalk network to extend from parks that you guys manage, I want to hear from you.
Right.
So I'm going to be ex officio to the sidewalk committee, and I'm going to spend a lot of time talking to people about what we could do to improve that, and then feed that into the committee's work.
Thank you. Okay, so there's that. Jeremy was representing P&Z. He mentioned that the work on the plan of conservation and development continues. They're getting drafts of various chapters. I think each month they're reviewing those. They go to the P&Z Commission first to work on, give feedback back to the consultants. They hope to have the final draft of the whole report on or about April 30th. Then there'll be a public hearing early July. And again, as you know, we met with P&Z to give our input because, you know, definitely there'll be discussion about the park. So as that comes out in the next few months, we're going to be wanting to review any and all chapters that touch on, you know, the parks and open space and whatever, and see what they're saying and provide input. So I want to give you guys a heads up with that. That will be coming. Nothing specific on RTM that relates to us. Coastal Commission met in kind of late-ish December. The harbor ordinances that were worked on were done, they're approved, they'll be in place for this summer. I think they were waiting to get them posted, to get it in Unicode updated. That doesn't particularly affect us, except of course the harbors are right off of, you know, our beaches, and affects, you know, moorings, and they clarified what they call berthing harbors, where boats are left overnight, and what are called day harbors like Ziegler's Cove, where people can go tie up for the day, but isn't meant, you know, people don't keep their boats there overnight. So things like that, cleaning up the waiting list, setting, you know, requirements for, you know, usage of, if you have a mooring, that you need to be using it, you can't rent it out, stuff like that. The town's also pursuing dredging of the channel. Our Pear Tree project will go so far, but that kind of goes up and around the boat club and then stops. But then the town is looking at continuing and doing the whole channel out to Long Island Sound. And I think we have pretty much all of our approvals.
We're waiting for the Army Corps to finalize their approval, but we got the report that says the sediment is green. I don't know what their ranking is, but it's such that we can dredge it and dump it in Long Island Sound like we used to do, because the sediment is sufficiently clean to do that, which will significantly reduce the cost of that dredging effort.
That's good. So that's working along. At one point we talked about whether that could have been coordinated with the Pear Tree project, but the timing of the permits was such that we couldn't do that. I mentioned to you previously that the Coastal Commission had sponsored a cleanup, and it was 550 pounds of garbage or whatever. They're planning another one for the spring, and there was discussion at the meeting about possibly advertising it in the town newsletter, and finding ways to get even more participants. They had some students from the high school from the Eco Citizens Club, but we're thinking, you know, whether you get more people from, you know, the boat club, the yacht club, more students or whatever. It wouldn't necessarily just be the parks. In fact, this spring probably Pear Tree might not even be accessible or ready yet, but so more focus possibly around Weed Beach, Holly Pond, and different areas. But they definitely were talking about kind of ramping it up and getting more community involvement and hitting more areas. But, you know, they continue to focus on helping us keep the parks clean, which is very appreciated. I guess the last thing is that News 12, I guess, reached out to you, John, and are interested in doing.
They were interviewing me about the Darien train station, and he mentioned that he'd heard about Pear Tree Point, and I said, well, it's visually interesting for sure. If you guys have been down there, I mean, the whole place is completely torn up. And he said, I'd love to do a News 12 story, I'll call you, and he called. And so I sent it up to you guys. Marcy Minnick's interested in going, so she and I will be there. You'll be gone, and I know you're going, which is fine. That in, it'll take 10, 15 minutes, but we'll go down there and try to get a positive story on that construction project. It's interesting, so that's at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Get a little publicity. Ed?
What did you say, what was the timing for the master plan, when we're gonna take that up again?
We published the last one in January of 2018, which means we worked on it in 2017. So,
It's usually every 10 years.
and it's usually every 10 years, so we'll need to be thinking about
So not this year.
that again, not this year, not this calendar year. Anything else, any questions? All I have. Everybody's good? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Jim, add second? Everybody good? Thanks, thank you to you, everyone.
Thank you.